Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We are here for the Community Arts Grant Program, so that if that is what you're interested in, you're in the right place. Thank you all for being here today. I briefly want to do some introductions. My name is Erin Barrows. I'm a Recreation Services Manager with the City of Burbank Parks and Recreation Department. With us today, we have Christy Lisinski, who is our arts grant consultant. We also have Lorena Romero, who's an admin analyst with our Parks and Recreation Department. Jocelyn Pelaez, who is a recreation coordinator with the Parks and Recreation Department. And finally, but certainly not least, is Leah Harrison, our current chair of the Burbank Cultural Arts Commission. So with that, I'm going to briefly turn it over to Leah. Leah, you're muted.
Oh gosh, that is like such an old habit. Here I am. So thank you so much, Erin. Hi, everybody. I'm super, super excited to see you all here. I just wanted to give you a little introduction into how this arts grant started. You know, the city of Burbank had a tradition of giving out their arts grant, and it lay dormant for a little while. And with the pandemic and the two strikes that have been happening in our fair city, we heard from a lot of you that you needed some relief, some help. And so the city council decided that it would be a good time to re-up this program, and we were all in for that. And with the great help of everybody you see on the screen here, the city of Burbank, specifically Parks and Recreation, who has jumped in just full force to help do this, we are able to do our second annual grant application, and we're really thrilled because the first year was so incredibly fantastic. It was more than we could have ever hoped for. Talking to LA County, and there are 38 cities in Los Angeles County, and we are one of only 9 cities that has a grants program right now. So we're very, very proud of what the commission and the Parks and Rec program were able to do. Christy Lisinski put in a massive amount of work to make this really thoughtful program for you. And I just wanted to let you know that our heart is in it only to support arts within our community. So we are here to support programs that have been around for a long time, that have had a home in Burbank, who are part of the institutions, but really looking for new voices too. So we're really happy to see people that are new to this kind of thing, and really encourage you to do that, to come be part of our city and be part of the holistic things that we want to do with arts. So thank you for being here. We really, really are encouraging all of you to put in your applications on time. There's tons of help with the city, and I'm going to turn it over to Erin again so we can go through what some of the meat and bones are of this. Thanks, Erin.
Thank you, Leah. As Leah mentioned, we have a tremendous amount of information to give to you today. So on the screen right now, you see our agenda. So we just finished our welcome and introduction. So again, thank you for being with us today. We're going to go over the program overview. We'll talk about the website and resource review, our eligibility and review criteria, how to apply and the application review, the project budget and work samples, some very important dates along with assistance that's going to be available. And then finally, we'll have some questions and answers. So the question and answer is currently enabled. So if you do have questions as we're going along, please feel free to put them in the chat. Lorena and I will be monitoring that as we go along. And if we feel that it is pertinent to the section we're going over at that point in time, we'll take a pause and we will go ahead and answer the question at that point. We'll also try to type the answers if we feel it's easy enough to do in a chat. If not, we will address that to everyone. There will be question and answer opportunities at the end of this as well. We may have some people who are calling in on a phone and not have the ability to put the question into chat. So we want to make sure that everybody has the ability to ask any questions you may have. So with that, as Leah alluded to, we're extremely excited. This is our second funding cycle of the Burbank Community Arts Grant Program. We were here last year at this time, kicking off our first time, and we were thrilled. We were hoping, I think last year, if we received 20 applications, we thought that that was going to be amazing. We received 47 applications from the arts community, both from nonprofit organizations and individual artists. Of that, 36 were deemed eligible, and 17 people were recommended and received funding, anywhere from $1,000 to $4,500. Those programs, some of the proposals that were funded, some have been completed already, and we still have a few that are going on through the end of this year. So exceptionally exciting for all of us. As Leah mentioned, a lot of work went into this, and definitely wouldn't be possible without our amazing arts grant consultant, Christy Lisinski, and also the help of the Cultural Arts Commission. And I definitely have to give a special shout out to Lorena Romero, who is our tech savvy individual on this, that has helped us set up everything for our JOT form and our application process. So with that, the purpose of this program is to support local artists and art organizations and to engage Burbank residents with diverse and outstanding cultural arts projects. We have a total of $52,000 in available funds this year, and city grant funds may be used for project expenses such as artist compensation, production exhibit costs, marketing, rental costs, and supplies. This past year, we only, our project period was a shorter period because it was the first time we were doing it. For our second cycle, we have decided to make sure that the project period is for an entire year. So projects will be funded from March 1st, 2025 through February 28th, 2026. As I mentioned earlier, awards will range anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000. And the project scope is we're seeking projects that expand public access to the arts and build awareness and appreciation for the art form presented, to educate, entertain, and inspire participants, and thoughtfully engage residents, businesses, artists, and visitors, offer a wide range of creative perspectives, and reflect our community's rich cultural diversity. The application is currently opened. We opened it last Tuesday, October 8th. And it will close on Tuesday, November 19th at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to throw that out there in case anybody is traveling during that time, so you make sure that your time zones are correct. Lorena, next slide, please. So a few resources that we have for you. We currently have our website set, and you can see the link there. It is at our Burbank website, our Burbank City website. You can go to Parks and Recreation, and it's in the Cultural Arts section. This is a quick and easy link to get you there. We have several resources set up for you there. It'll go over application instructions and guidelines. There's going to be a sample application there for you to look over as you're doing your own application. The link for the application form will be there. The link for you to upload work samples, if that's something that you need to do, will also be there. We have a frequently asked questions section, and we have built that since last year was our first pilot season. It was a learning experience for all of us, and there was definitely some questions that came out through that process that we wanted to make sure that we added to this to hopefully help make the process for you to apply this year a little bit easier. We will be holding another virtual workshop on Wednesday, October 30th. We'll have office hours or another question and answer session from 11 a.m. to noon. It will again be Zoom. And have no fear, this workshop is also being recorded. So if you need to go back, because we're going to give you a lot of information tonight, if you need to go back and look at it, you can go to this website and we'll be able to click the link to rewatch this. We do have an email address for you. So if you have any questions along the way, please go ahead and email us at CommunityArtsGrant@BurbankCa.gov. And we will get back to you and work with you to answer your questions and help you along the way. We also on our website have given our current 16 grant awardees for the 2024 cycle. We've listed all of them and given a brief description of their projects, just so you can see where that money went to this year. Again, very exciting times for us. And it's definitely varied in the different projects that were funded this year. Next. And then with that, I am going to go ahead and turn it back to Miss Leah Harrison. Thank you.
Hi, thanks, Erin. So, who is eligible for this program? We really want to help individual professional artists and nonprofit arts organization based in LA County and working in the visual arts and performing arts. So that means if you are based anywhere outside of LA County, you would not be eligible, unfortunately. We're focusing on people that live within Los Angeles County. So you don't have to live within Burbank, but you do need to live within Los Angeles County. However, the project must be, the one in bold here, must be completed within the city of Burbank. We really want, since our residents have been so supportive of this program, we really want to give back to the city. So it must be completed in Burbank. You must be 21 years or older and show you've been working in an artistic practice for a minimum of 2 years. So they will ask for a resume and an artistic statement, but I'm sure nobody has a problem with that. If you are a nonprofit, you'll have to have an established 501c3. And all of the other things listed here, I won't read verbatim. But you nonprofits know who you are and your paperwork that you need. The project must provide a public benefit via an interactive component or culminating performance, exhibition, or event that is open to the general public. So we are looking for projects done in Burbank that the public can have some sort of interface with. It doesn't, you can be as creative as you like with that, but there has to be some sort of interface with the public for it. Arts organizations currently based in Burbank will get a little bit of a priority, a few extra points. They'll go through that later. And preference will be given to events that are free or have a very low ticket price. Again, we really want the public, our Burbank public, to be able to access these easily. So that's it for eligibility. Does this mean we do not fund administrative and operational expenses, scholarly research, tuition, or academic expenses, projects held, performed, or exhibited outside of Burbank, as I mentioned, programs that are not accessible to the public, as I mentioned, recreational arts and crafts projects or programs, although we love them, not at this point, arts education and teaching programs, although we love them, not at this point, trust endowments, cash reserves, fundraisers, or capital campaigns, programs that are eligible in nature or contain elements of proselytizing. I think we would not be able to do that. Programs that aid or service political campaigns, artworks may not contain advertising, sexual content, or hate speech. We are not funding things that art in public places would normally do because they have their own pool of money that they give to. So we wanted to be able to cover a different area than they and not overlap there. So no mural sculptures or environmental art. So you can, though, I love this, they have the website there so that you can look them up and they might be able to fund your mural, statue, or sculpture. Alrighty, review criteria. So this is how the points break down. This is the exciting part. Artistic quality and merit. Yes, of course, 40 points because it has to be great art. Community access, as we said, we're very interactive with this grants program. It's part of the community, 30 points. Project viability, managerial and fiscal competency, 20 points. We want to make sure you know how you're spending the money and that it's being taken good care of, which I'm sure you all will do. Cultural equity and inclusion, 10 points. Burbank residency credit, as I said before, that gets a little extra 5-point bump. Alrighty, I think that's it for me. How to apply. Is that me again? They're shaking their heads. Sorry, everybody. Obviously, I didn't read the slides well enough. How to apply. Submit an application form with required uploads. No, that's not me.
You're turning it over to Christy. No, you're turning it over to Christy at this point.
Yep.
Oh, this is my happy
You're all good,
space.
Leah.
Because we all adore Christy. She
Oh,
did,
shoot.
along with everybody on Parks and Rec, a huge amount of work to make sure this was honestly just so thought out, so careful. She looked at every question. She talked to everyone. It's just, we're very, very lucky to have her. I'm going to turn it over to Christy Lazinski.
Great. And can you stop sharing? I just want to make sure I can share, or can I share over this? There we go. Okay. There we go. Everybody see that? Hi, everybody. Great to be here with you all. I can't believe we're in a second round. I feel like the first round went by really fast, and I've really enjoyed going to see a number of the grantees' projects at unique spaces that in some ways I didn't know existed. So, you know, one of the things, I'll go through the actual application and I'll try to highlight any sort of new things that we're doing this year. In the guidelines for one, I do have some venue resources. So as we get to those sections, I will kind of let you know about that. But here we are. This is the JOT form. The link. I guess actually, if we could go back, I'm sorry. I guess I was supposed to go through those slides. I'm so sorry, Lorena. Because now I'm going into the application, but we were going to go through that before I go through the actual application. Here we are. So the actual application form, which is what I just was showing you that I will go through in detail. And the links are on the website. You can see them here. You'll have your required uploads and you'll certify the application. Most everything can be handled through that application. There is an option to upload some of your artistic documentation to the cloud if you're not submitting links in the application. So we do have that sort of secondary process if you are going to be doing those separately and not have links. So we do have a sample application. We're going to have to update the one that's currently on the website, but we do have a sample application that you can use to prepare your answers in advance. There are different questions and requirements for individual artists versus nonprofit organizations. And one of the things that's really great about the JOT form system is that you can save it and go back to it. So as you go through and answer those questions, but you can't move through the application unless you have actually answered those questions. So that's why having the sample application is quite helpful in trying to prepare those answers in advance. But you can save and go back to that. You just want to make sure that you follow those instructions and they will send you the link via email or you can copy it. You can edit the application anytime. You can start now and save your work and just make sure that it gets in by the deadline of November 19th at 5 p.m. and make sure to submit early to avoid any technical difficulties. Next slide. Project budget. So the project budget is sort of a key piece that the panelists will be looking at to make sure that you have a viable project. You need to include your project costs that are expected to be incurred during the project period. As we mentioned, the project period is March 1st, 2025. And this year we've extended it by several months. So it is a full 12-month project period. So your project needs to be between those two dates. It needs to be completed and reported on at that time. So just want to make sure that you have that project period down and that will happen between those dates. Matching funds are not yet required for our grants program, but you are encouraged to present projects where the city of Burbank is not the sole funder. But if you don't need additional funds and the funds you're asking for will provide support for your full project, you just want to make sure you delineate what those expenses look like. New this year, I've tried to simplify the budget template, and it is now, housed in the application form. There's no like additional Excel document to upload. We wanted to give you last year the detail that was needed and have you think about your projects, but we found that many people found that it was more confusing that way. So again, we've tried to simplify it. Applicants should provide a brief expense narrative that will help panelists understand project design and costs. And then applicants should also provide a brief income narrative, particularly in the case where you have additional funding, and so that they will understand how you will cover any additional costs above the grant request amount. Next slide. Another important piece is the artistic documentation. 2 work samples are required. And by work samples, I mean samples of your work, samples of your organization's work, not marketing materials, not sponsorship pitches or documents. We want to actually see your work. We want to make sure that it's high quality video and audio or images that are relevant to the project, and that those documentation, those samples are going to reflect the concepts and the quality of the applicant's work. Formats such as JPEG, MOV, MPG, or audio files can be uploaded as separate files or included as links in the grant application. But you want to make sure that any of those links are active and viewable until March of 2025. Each sample should be audio or video, that is, should be a maximum of 5 minutes long. And there's fields where you can include the date, title, and description. And if for some reason there's a password on that link, make sure that any instructions for the panelists to access that, that sample are included. And again, don't submit marketing and promotional materials. There's another area where you can do that. And that other area is supplemental material. So this is not required, but it does help panelists understand more about you and your work or your organization's work. A maximum of 2 pieces are allowed. It includes things like articles, reviews, marketing materials, blog posts, or newsletters. Those are all acceptable. Published reviews critiquing the quality of work is actually really great. So because it can show outside view of your work. They give panelists a greater understanding of the quality of the work and how you're reaching out to the community. And we want to make sure that you include brief descriptions of each collateral in the application form. Anything that's uploaded either in the application form or to the cloud should have your applicant name and then whatever that sample is, if it's sample 1, sample 2, or collateral 1, collateral 2. So now I will go through the application form. So back here again, this will be the landing page. And at the bottom, you'll see the save and next. And so when you go into the next, the first section is your applicant profile. So all applicants are required to fill out this section. It includes questions that identify the applicant and describe the organization or artist in their work. So the first thing that you would select would be your discipline, the discipline that you work in. It could be performing arts, it could be visual arts, it could be multidisciplinary. And if you select other, then you're just required to describe what that is. If you're film artists or anything else that you want to like specifically describe, I would make sure you choose other. Otherwise, one of these 3 should suffice. We go into contact information, website, social media, primary grant contact name, and then and most importantly on this page here, applicant type and whether you're an individual artist or a nonprofit arts organization. So the application type, if you're based in Burbank and propose to use the grant funds for an arts project in Burbank, that's the first selection. If you're not based in Burbank, since all artists and organizations within LA County are eligible, you would select this one, but you are proposing to use 100% of the grant funds for an arts project in the city of Burbank. That is a requirement. So you're either one of those two application types, and you're either an individual artist or a nonprofit. So let's start out with individual artist, because this selection will bring up the next page, which is the questions that are relevant to individual artist applicants. The first thing that you would do, since you would either be not a Burbank resident, or you would be selecting that you are a Burbank resident, or your studio's in Burbank, you have to be based in Burbank, and you would need a driver's license or a utility bill to provide proof. So you would select which one you're doing, you would upload it here to this section, and make sure, again, we have suggested file names down below that you could just save that document as, and then upload that there. We need an artist resume or CV. Again, we want to make sure that in the eligibility requirements that there's at least 2 years of solid professional work. We want to make sure that you know that we have a resume that really shows whether it's exhibitions that you're doing, theater works. You know, we really want to see that resume of all the work that you as an artist have done. If you have any awards or commendations, all of those types of things. Artistic statement is really just how, you know, the vision for your art. And under each of these questions, we have some additional questions that will sort of help you think about how you want to answer that question. So please include an artistic statement or philosophy that describes your work. How would receiving this grant further your development as an artist? And then if you've received funding from the city of Burbank in the past, maybe you received one of the first rounds of the Community Arts Grant, or you've done one of the utility boxes. If so, you're going to press yes, and then indicate the amount and project below. And if not, you would select no. And then we're going to go back, actually, and we're going to run through this for nonprofit organizations. So you can see the difference and the requirements for nonprofits. So again, we have contact information for the executive director. We need to know who the leader is of the organization, the mission statement, what year the organization was founded, organization history and programming. And this is briefly describe the history of the applicant and core arts programs and services of the organization, the community core audience for that organization. And again, you have some things to think about underneath here to help you answer that question. Talking about who your core audience is, including any relevant demographic, geographic, cultural, economic, or other characteristics, and describe how you identify community core audience needs and how the applicant develops programs to meet these needs. So that's where you can discuss that. I'll just mention now too that each of these fields has a particular number of characters that you will work through. You would add in the annual operating budget for the organization. And here you would say whether your organization has a cultural equity statement. If you don't, that's fine. You select no. If you do, you would select yes and include your statement here and say what that commitment to cultural equity is for your organization. Then you go through the required documents for organizations, which include your IRS letter, proof of nonprofit status, a board of directors list, which include officer titles, professional affiliations, and number of years on the board. So that document would be dropped in there. Your most recent organizational financial statement dropped in there, audited if available, and the California Secretary of State active nonprofit status screenshot. A sample of that is in the guidelines. You can see, and you can go to this business search. The link is right here. You just want to make sure that you upload a screenshot from that, showing that your organization is active within 60 days. So that you would save and drop in that link there. And then moving on to the project description for all applicants. You may have a new project that you're interested in doing, something that as an artist or an organization you haven't done before. One of the things that was really exciting about the first round was that we did see a lot of new projects coming about. One example would be the Burbank Philharmonic, which had not been in the city of Burbank, actually had not done a lot of performances in the city of Burbank in most recent years. And they were able to do a smaller orchestra and present themselves in the city of Burbank for the first time. So that was really exciting. And it was something new for them as an organization. It could also be an existing project that you do. It could be something like the Burbank Community Band. I'm going to do some shout outs to our grantees who has done some holiday programming and wanted to get some funding to help support that. So it could be an existing project that you have, but again, just making sure that it's done in the city of Burbank. The performing arts, this is like your project discipline, whether it's a performing arts, visual arts, multidisciplinary or other. Your project title, the proposed dates, another important section here. Many people didn't actually include a venue name last year. So they would either just put the zip code, but we want to make sure that you have a proposed venue and that you name it here, and that you also include the zip code where it is. A brief project or program description. This is something that will be used to describe your project in any public listings, particularly if you are selected as a grantee. This will help us just develop that list of projects. And then you can go into a detailed project and program description here. Here is this is the main field that you're going to tell us what you're going to be doing. And we ask you to just give sufficient information so that the panel can understand the scope of the project, the artists involved, who will organize it, where it will take place, who will participate, and ticket costs, if any. Explain why this project should receive public funds, taking into account the overall grant program priorities that you read about in the guidelines. And then new this year, it's not required, but it's highly recommended that applicants identify and engage with proposed venues in the preparation of the application. We have a sample venue letter on our website. This is what you would use that and indicate the name of the contact at the venue and what the dates are that you're looking at, so that you're both on the same page and that we know that you've been developing your project in collaboration with a venue. Again, it's not required. You can still have a proposed venue and not upload a venue letter, but we are highly recommending it because it does present the project to the panelists. Again, that goes towards project viability and those points. So that's new this year. Key project personnel. Name, title, short biography of each of the people that are involved. Include the project role, what they'd be doing as part of the project. For an artist, you may just be one person that's working on this project. You may be a creative director of sorts and have a whole cast of people, and you have the ability to put 5 individuals or artists actually in the application. And then you have an area to upload any additional key project personnel or artists associated with the project. For an organization, you may start with your leadership, key people that would manage the project. It might be your executive director, or it could be your artistic director. And then any of those people that might be paid through, another way to think of it too is if anybody's going to be paid through grant funds, they should be listed in here in some way if they're key to your project, the artistic aspect, that is. And again, you have the ability to upload more. Then you move into the community access piece of the project, questions that highlight the public impact and engagement. And just making sure, you know, I say up here, it's important that the grant program is designed to make sure that your project is seen by the public. It requires a public benefit, an interactive component, or some sort of culminating event that's open to the public. So it's not just to fund your work and then you're going to report back on it. That work must be seen by the community, and you must engage the community, market your work to the community. This question, community access and cultural equity, you would describe the project's community engagement strategies and how your project reflects and addresses the needs of the Burbank community. And then it has some additional prompts down below. How do you define the community you wish to serve? Does the project involve anyone from underrepresented groups? How is the project or programming inclusive and accessible to those who may not have access to your programming? Is it expected to positively impact local businesses and community organizations? And to talk about any project partnerships you may have. Next, you'll talk about your marketing plan. How do you plan to promote your work and the project to people? And you'll put in here an anticipated number of attendees and participants. For this sample, I have 250 people. It could be 50 people. It could be 1,000 people. This is not going to be judged in terms of that it has to reach a lot of people. It's the whole project that's viewed. So be realistic, but also be also make sure that you are being aspirational. I guess that's the word I was looking for. You want to be realistic, but also aspirational for how many people are going to be seeing your work. And through your project marketing and promotions, I mean, that's really where you're like, how am I going to reach this many people? Those two pieces really tie together. And then how you're going to evaluate your project. What are the successes that you're looking for? Is it about how many people you reach? Is it about the work that you're able to produce? So just try to describe how you're going to evaluate your project there. And then we get to the project budget piece. This is the piece that's new this year, where you don't have to upload that Excel document, and everything should sort of add itself up in here. So you're going to put the grant request amount. Max request is 5,000. You can put anywhere between 1,000 and 5,000 here for the grant request. And then for other income, if you have no other income, if your project is only going to cost $5,000 or whatever your request is, then you just want to make sure that you put 0 in here, at least just for this first field, if there is no other income. And then in that case, you would also put not applicable for any income budget explanation. And then you would move down to here, it totals your total project income is basically that $5,000 request. And then you would move into project expenses. It has to equal. So your income must equal expenses. Expenses must equal income. In this scenario, we have high level expense categories, starting with salaries. This would be salaries of an organization, of personnel that are managing the program, that are part of a salary piece of an organization. When you get into artist fees non-salaried or production tech crew non-salaried, these are expenses that are not run through like a personnel scenario. So there could be contractors, they might be one-time fees, and those types of personnel people should be included in these two categories. So these first 3 categories are basically people, and then you get into production and exhibition costs, you get into venue rental, marketing and advertising, and then other. So if you do put an amount in here for other, you just want to make sure that that is described thoroughly in the budget explanation. And regardless, you do need to put an explanation and in detail so that they understand what's included up above. You may put, you know, a 15 artists at $100 for artist fees. You know, you can put those formulas down here as to what your expenses are. If you have a scenario where you actually have a $10,000 project, you're going to include a $5,000 request for the city of Burbank, and you may make some money via ticket sales. That $1,000 you would enter there, and you can see that it automatically is entering here for your total other income. Maybe you're going to get some sponsorship dollars from a local business. Maybe you have some donors, some that are going to support the project. Maybe you have another grant from, say, LA County to do some work. Maybe you want to put that in there. And maybe you have also like a foundation that supports your work and that's going to support this project. So you have your $5,000 request from the city. You have a $5,000 in additional income. And now your total project income is now $10,000. And you would describe what those items are in this area. So it would not be NA anymore, but you would put the description of, say, you know, what foundation is supporting it, what your ticket prices are, things like that. So, you know, it's a $15 ticket times whatever that amount is, that's going to equal your ticket sales up here. And then your expenses are going to change. This would be, you'd want this to be $10,000 since your income and expenses need to match. And you would double these or whatever that is to make sure that that is. So maybe you have $5,000 in salaries. And so your total project expenses are now $10,000, and you would explain those here. Moving on to the artistic documentation. Basically, we've changed this so that most everything can be done in the application form. Again, you have several options. You are required to input 2 samples. So you have 3 options here. You can include your 2 samples as hyperlinks. And you have the format here for the URL. You would put the link in there and you would describe it. And then for sample 2, you would put the link and describe it. So if you select that, this is what pops up for you. If you have maybe one link to, say, a YouTube or a Vimeo video, but you want to upload something else, you would select the one hyperlink and one upload. You'll have a hyperlink and that description. And then for sample 2 upload, you'll have a description here, but then you would follow these instructions to upload the sample to the City of Burbank Dropbox. So in any scenario, you are always describing whatever that sample is in the application form. The third option is 2 uploads. And if that scenario is what you're selecting to drop in 2 artistic samples into the cloud, you will have the opportunity here to describe those samples and a reminder to go over to the cloud and drop those samples in. The support materials, you just, again, have a brief description of the collateral and drop the file in, brief description of the collateral and drop the file in. And I'm moving through this quickly because I know we don't have a lot of time. We're basically to the end where you're going to put in your name, you're going to sign it, you're going to certify it, that all the items are correct in the application, and then you will press save if you want to save it if you're not sure, and submit if you are ready to go and want to make sure you do that by the deadline, 5 p.m. on Tuesday, November 19th.
Lorena, can you? Yeah, thank you.
So I can just go through these important dates. The application is now open. This is our first workshop. We'll also do an office hours on October 30th. So if you want to work with us at that time, you want to go through the application and you have questions at that time, make sure to sign up for the office hours. Deadline again, Tuesday, November 19th. The panel review, December 2024 through just January of 2025. Just to give you an idea of what happens once the applications are submitted. Everything is going to be reviewed by city staff for satisfaction of eligibility requirements. And then all eligible proposals would then be reviewed by a diverse panel of arts professionals with expertise in performing and visual arts. So we are putting the panel together now. Once those applications are submitted, staff will review, and again, those eligible ones will go to panel. And we will notify grant recipients in February, or I should say by the end of February, and the project period would start March 1st and go through February 28th, 2026 for that 12-month period. If there's any additional application assistance, we're going to be updating the FAQs as we continue to add items to that, but there is an FAQs document on the website. The guidelines are there. I mentioned that there were some venue resources in the guidelines this year that give some idea of where the 2024 grantees performed and did things. And these are the types of venues that you might consider as well. Sign up for that office hours, and then always make sure you have that email, that any questions that you have, you can email to CommunityArtsGrant. And if you need any sort of individual assistance, we can determine that and potentially schedule things. Erin's really good at responding to those and scheduling things as needed.
So thank you, Christy. That brings us to the end of our presentation. We know we gave you a lot of information. Please, if you have any questions, go ahead and raise your hand and we will bring you over. As Christy mentioned, you also have the ability to contact us through CommunityArtsGrant at BurbankCa.gov for questions. Sometimes it's a little bit easier if you have questions that are specific to a project that you're thinking about proposing. We can do that too. Christy and I are going to be getting together and setting up some days and different times to do to set up some individual meetings if that needs to happen. We did that a lot last year. We're hoping that through the things that we learned last year, that we've pretty much put a lot of things in the FAQs to help you along the way with that. And I think budgeting was a big, as we started getting applications, budgeting was a little thing that we had to keep going back and forth on. So I see that there's some questions in the chat as well, which I don't know if these are individual to you. So one of them is, if when we're funded, it sounds like projects performances could not take place any earlier than April or May to allow for marketing. Correct. I mean, it's up to you. We did have some this past year. The window for projects this past year was March 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. We did have, I think the earliest project that we had was May. But if you're, we plan on getting back to you, like Chrissy said, by mid-February, mid to late February, to let you know. So if we'll let you know earlier in the process if your project is not eligible, but it's probably good to start getting some of those pieces together. So if you are looking for something pretty quickly after March, that you're ready to go as soon as you get the approval from us. So I hope that answers that. Another question is, if we had questions for the application while we were filling out the forms, you have access to our save applications before submission. I'm going to turn that. I'm going to let Lorena speak to that one because she's my job form pro.
Hi, yes, we do actually have access to your jot form. We can view any saved and not submitted applications on our end.
Thank you, Lorena. Thank you, Eric. I'm glad that this was a comprehensive overview for you, especially since you've gone through it once for us. So I appreciate that. Christy, I'm going to let you answer the next question. Are permanent public art pieces eligible?
Yeah, I guess the answer to that, it sort of depends on what that is. If it is something that you are looking for funding that would make more sense as part of art in public places, we would steer you towards getting funding through those sources. So I think I would say that we might have to know a little bit more about what that project is. Ultimately, a piece of public art could potentially be eligible. It just depends on if it's something that would be more readily funded through art in public places. And that's why we have that as like sort of an eligibility piece. So I would say email us or let us know what that project is. And we can give you more.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
I agree. Sorry, Christy, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think
No,
that that's
no.
probably a better one-on-one conversation for us to either go through email specifically or have a meeting to discuss what you're thinking about. Okay, so if you need additional materials or have project questions, will you reach out prior to review or during the review process? So once you submit your applications, then city staff and Christy work together to review applications to see, to make sure things are complete. There are certain things that we'll reach out to you on. I know budgeting was something last year that we reached out to individuals. Another thing was work samples. Some individuals put work samples in that were an entire show where we asked for a very specific, amount or section. So items like that, we will reach out to you. If you have questions for us, again, please feel free to take advantage of the Community Arts Grants at BurbankCa.gov email address, and we will respond to you as quickly as possible. And if we deem that it's probably better for us to set up a meeting, we will do that at that time. Let's see. Do the Burbank Cultural Arts Commission help promote our local events also? Well, so I will say the grantees, once the grantees receive the approval for the funding, we ask them, there's certain criteria that you'll have to do. We have a new community arts logo that we asked you to put on your any of your flyers, or a brief sentence thanking, like mentioning that your project is in partnership or due in part to the Community Arts Grant Program. If you're talking about just events in general and not something that is for the Community Arts Grant Program, we just ask that you send that information to Burbank Arts at Jocelyn, am I saying the right email? Sorry, BurbankArts@BurbankCa.gov. And then we help to promote those on the Burbank Arts website and Burbank Arts social media. So I hope that answered your question. Any further questions?
I'm just gonna
Again, go ahead, Christy.
Oh, I was just going to run through a list of some of the venues, because I do think that I wasn't even familiar with some of these venues. Some of the venues are churches. That some of the grantees have performed in churches. They've had events there. The Salit Conservatory of Music was one that I was not familiar with, which is a music conservatory that's over by Pickwick, like behind. The day I went for the concert, it's like behind there. It's a beautiful little space. And there was a wonderful it was the performance by Jory Herman that was quite wonderful, with an accompanist by piano. So for music performances that are small, the Salit Conservatory of Music, Little Victory at Victory Theater Center, one of the theater groups, Conundrum, went into sort of a new space, reconfigured a studio space called Kalia Studios right at the end of the Chandler bike path. Boys and Girls Club has a wonderful little theater space. So be creative about thinking where in the community you want to be. One of the artists this year is also doing something at Stoke Canyon Park, actually tomorrow. Psycho Pomp Dance with Shenandoah Harris. So encourage people to be creative, reach out if you have questions about potential venues. We're really excited to see what everybody has to offer.
Thank you, Christy. So with that, I don't see any other questions in the chat, and I do not see any hands raised. So thank you all for spending the past hour with us. We hope that this was informative for you and helps you along the way. We're excited that you have interest in our Community Arts Grant program, and we hope to see your applications coming through. Please take advantage of the resources that are available to you. Again, the next one will be on October 30th at 11 a.m. We will be doing another kind of more just question and answer at that point in time. But if there's something specific, please take advantage of the Community Arts Grant at BurbankCa.gov email, and we will work with you on that. So, and as a reminder, this is being recorded and it will be up on our website within the next couple of days for you to be able to reference back to, so that you can listen to items again. And pretty much the slideshow that Christy went over today, that information is also on the website. So please take advantage of that. Thank you all. I wish you all the best of luck. And again, we're excited to see your proposals as they come through. Have a wonderful evening.